This is a reflection on one of the teachings from theology from the Low, the junior high youth ministry at Church in the City, called Remix. Today's passage was just in the beginning talking about God's first three commands and the first prohibition. And it was kind of interesting, like everyone had a Bible and encouraged a lot of questions. And I think I got a couple of interesting comments. I think just because of the way I framed some of the questions. One question I asked was, if you're moving to a house, how would you prepare? And context of the ministry here, a lot of them are from single mother families. Context of our ministry here is just a lot of them don't really come from complete homes, broken homes. And when you said something really funny, he said, well, I would sit in an empty house for 3 days and think about what I want and then planning. Basically, my question was more of like, if you're moving to a house, how much time would you put into planning it? And it was quite interesting. I had some people that were thinking about, well, to look at the plans beforehand, figure out what colors you want and everything. But then that one kind of threw me for a loop. I didn't expect that someone would actually say, I'm going to sit down in an empty house for 3 days and see what stuff I want. So that was really interesting. But I was also trying to dig for the third point. I went through what Chris Rock was talking about. So the first point being God's first command was to be fruitful and multiply. So we had a discussion about being fruitful. That was really cool. And got to explain what that means. I came up with this funny analogy of have an apple tree that didn't have any apples, it's fruitless. But if I had an apple tree that was fruitful, that had apples, is fruitful. So partly is also what we got out of that is being fruitful means doing what you were meant to do. And then the second one being in dominion, being in control. Some of them thought that was cool, but I guess I was very proud of the fact that the one that resounded most of them was eat. I had to fish for it. I told them, we have our NIV Bibles here, and I said everyone had to look. It's right there. So they're looking hard, giving all these answers. And I kept saying that's number one, that's number two. But then I had this one particular youth that actually wasn't paying attention. He was actually quite restless and kept on bouncing around like this. And then I said, you need to read it big. It's right before the number 30, verse 30. So he's looking at it, and it says blah blah blah, and then it goes, eat. So everyone laughed, and I said, he's right, let's eat. So that resounded most of them, and I did explain to them that part that said how usually the last commandment is the most important one. So I thought that was pretty cool, and how the first prohibition had also something to do with don't eat. It was also an interesting practice today to try to slow down the passage all the time, even though the majority of our kids are unchurched kids. Our children's pastor has done a good job connecting with all of them and has imparted some of the basics. So some of them were kind of getting ahead of the story, talking about about the fall already, and then one had an interesting question about pains in childbirth. So which was interesting because she hasn't quite hit puberty yet, but that's what she's thinking about, but that's fine. So yeah, it was really interesting. It's been part of our DNA in our ministry to always be dialoguing and asking questions. So I feel like the material kind of just helped me pose better questions. My goal is always to be more teacher first. In fact, someone from our church used to be a teacher up on Regent Park around here, which is one of the more impoverished areas. And just in dialogue with our youth ministry here, sometimes our classroom is hard to control. And then I kind of mentioned this thing of how I don't want it to be a classroom. I said, no, that's not true. You want it to be a classroom. They said you want it to be a great classroom. So, I definitely took that to heart, and that's something we've been practicing. but tonight was really funny and interesting. Another funny comment was I was asking as to why God would put up the prohibition and what the reasons were before I went to the point of separating good and evil, how we should be doing that. Some youth had said that God is testing if they're cowards, which I thought was interesting. Cowards. I had to think about that for a second. And yeah, and another youth definitely talk about the trust issue, which is most of them is what they see. But I think someone thinking that God is testing if they're cowards, that was an interesting thought. I'm probably going to let that soak in a little bit more and figure out what exactly that means. But this particular youth definitely was engaged and he was looking hard. So wondering what he meant. So yeah, it was a success. Today is May 29th. Up just released just for social commentary, and that's my video blog and my video comments about the lesson today.